Welcome back to Sports for Dummies. Wow, the AFL world has been shocked back to back by the Brisbane Lions. Johnny, that was impressive, wasn't it?
Very impressive win. Made the last three, 2 in a row. And I think they're on the verge to stay and could win a third or fourth.
There is potential for a dynasty.
They do.
Let's go back though. 2023. Losing to Collingwood. Very close game too.
Oh, in hindsight, that looks like Collingwood were the best seed that year. But when you look at it in hindsight, it's a pretty good grand final, isn't it?
Fantastic grand final. And they're without Ashcroft, who has 2 Norm Smiths to his name now.
How good's that? Comes in the second 3 quarters of the way through last year, wins a Norm, wins another Norm. Jesus. The thing that's crazy about Brisbane is a third of their list is 23. They've just added Draper, who very much, Danaher had issues, injuries, attitude problems, comes to Brisbane. He's an absolute star. Draper, don't be surprised if Sam Draper is All-Australian ruckman this year.
Look,
in 2026.
Coming from a Bombers supporter, I think he needs a change. And what better way? I mean, Brisbane, Gold Coast, the lifestyle up there, 10 times better. You go to, Essendon, you're popping hamstrings out in the wind up there. Your lifestyle is so different. You go up to Brizzy, it's no different to what you've actually alluded to. Danaher. Did the exact same. It's a common theme.
Danaher was over the Bombers. He was, injury prone and goes up. He was a star in 2024. Again, that makes this grand final even more impressive. Didn't even think about it. They were at their key forward this year. Danaher, Hipwood went down as well. So their 2 key forwards from 23 and 24 were not in the final series.
Which is incredible. And you said there's Coleman coming back. The injury list is pretty...
So Coleman, Payne, Hipwood come right back in.
Looks pretty good to me.
Third of their list, under 23. Added Draper.
Those Ashcroft boys.
The Ashcroft family greater than the Dacos family.
Oh, that's a big call.
That's another video.
We're going to go back 2024 though, because we did a lot of the previews and the reviews. I remember us coming out, Brisbane, Collingwood, the 2 teams who were in the grand final. I don't think they won a game for 3-4 rounds.
So I think none had won a round up until round 4 or 5, and then they versed each other. Collingwood beat them.
Well, obviously, one of them has to win.
Halfway through the year, Brisbane, couple of injuries.
Just before we go into the halfway point of the season, their first game. So Brisbane had been the Gabba only team, and what I mean by that is they won 14 games in a row at the Gabba. They come out round 1 at home, lose.
Yeah, my boys Carlton, 8 goals down we were, and sort of reversed the 2023 prelim and won. Coleman went out for the year, and he was their best finals player in 2023. It wasn't looking good for them halfway through the year. Commentators, I think David King, said they should sack Fagan, and it just went on an unbelievable run. In the finals, they were 7 goals down to the Giants halfway through the third, 4 goals down to Geelong at halftime. In the prelim, smacked Sydney. And then, this year they had the hardest draw. All the players we mentioned are out. And, finished top 4, lost their first final. And then, really, when you look at it, when it mattered, they were the best side this year.
Can I just say, do you reckon 2024 was probably their hardest earned grand final, like their premiership, their hardest earned premiership? Do you reckon it will be the hardest one they had to earn? Ashcroft came back round 16 from an ACL, wins the Norm Smith, but they had a lot of, like you said, they've still got a lot of outs. 2024 was probably the year of grit for them, and this year they kind of came out and...
this year they were... they had their own challenges this year. They had the harder draw. They got... they did get smacked a couple of times. Collingwood smacked them at the start of the year. Gold Coast smacked them towards the end of the year. Geelong smacked them in the first final. But just those different reasons. Last year, they just started so poorly. That's probably why it was a bit harder. This year, against most of the good sides, they were the best team. But yeah, just different reasons. They had a lot more, they had a lot of injuries and just if you look at their grand final side from last year to this year, a little bit different. So I think they both have merit. They were both hard. They didn't win the granny with 3 finals. They've had to win 4.
Yeah, that's impressive. It's a very it's a good thing. Do you reckon they silenced a little bit of their critics being, 2023, 2022, they were more Gabba only focused? I think they had the yips. I know. They had the yips at the MCG. There was since 2014 they hadn't won a game there. And then they finally broke that. Obviously winning in the big dance, but they won. They actually, sorry, when I say when I say MCG, winning at the MCG, it was in a home and away game. So that's a huge, for them to break that in 2024 would have given them a lot of confidence leading into the final series, and then to win that and then come in this year. The way that they did it though, but they didn't feel, I feel like 2024 they were more, after that, after they did get their first win, they were more dominant. This year they didn't feel that. I don't know if you got that same feel. I didn't feel like they were as dominant. I thought Geelong, Collingwood.
This year?
Yeah, this year.
No, Brisbane smacked both of them away.
Obviously in the finals, but...
No, during the year, smacked them both.
You thought that they were better? You thought
this year they were the best. Probably when they played Hawthorn at the start of the year, and Hawthorn were the best side, they smacked them at the MCG. Like, they beat them. They went to Geelong and smacked them. They've beaten Collingwood in the finals and the home and away season at the MCG twice. What's good about this Brisbane side? So yes, to your point, up until 2023, yes, they really struggled at the MCG. But the grand final is where it turned. They didn't win, but they versed Collingwood, who that's their home ground, got within a kick, and through a couple of umpiring decisions, whatever you want to say, they were very close. And then, 2024, they were they had to almost win every game at the back end and go through it. But this year, if you look at against the top sides, they smoked them.
Okay.
They were always the best side. Kind of when Geelong made adjustments in that first final, everyone sort of wrote them off. But if you look at it, they smacked Collingwood multiple times. They smacked Hawthorn. They smacked Geelong. Like they're the best sides. And they beat Freo, had to travel. Brisbane's this year was more impressive in the fact that they actually were losing at the Gabba this year. When they went interstate, they didn't lose.
So that's probably where I'm coming from. I know when they pardon me, when they were at the Gabba, they would just dominate. And I feel like this year they kind of lost that, but they gained it away.
And you got to think about it. Where's the finals played? So being able to win at the MCG and in Melbourne consistently and easily, that's where I thought you can see it when you're beating the best sides all the time. For me, they were the best side. After the Hawthorn game, I'm like, Brisbane the best side.
Do you ever think? I know the AFL's always been notoriously. You played at Melbourne, the Victorian teams. You played at the G. Do you ever think it would be fair that, say, a side did finish top of the ladder? I mean, Adelaide absolutely shit the bed.
Yep.
They cleanly swept, if you look at it like that. Do you ever think that they should get the right to have it at their home ground? Like, because when you think about it, right, they train, they play, they do all these things up in their lifestyle, whether that be Brisbane, West Coast, Adelaide, wherever. Do you reckon it would be fair? Because, I mean, you've got home ground advantage. If you're Collingwood, Richmond, Hawthorn, Carlton,
of course. And I think that's I'd like to touch on that in a different video in terms of the equalities of the game, but just to be specific now, yeah, of course, should it go to the first team, or do you do sort of what the NFL do, where the Super Bowl rotates every year?
Yeah,
so you always, it's not even two teams playing at each other's home grounds. It could be playing at a completely different spot.
Yeah.
I think, yes. Now, that's not going to happen because I'm pretty sure they've signed a lease with the MCG for 99 years, so it's not going to happen. Obviously, as a traditionalist, obviously the MCG Saturday afternoon, it's great.
It is a beautiful thing.
But from an equality, of course, the grand final should not just be played at the MCG.
Who was best on grand final day?
Zach Bailey. I
Snoop
thought
Dogg.
was. Oh,
Snoop Dogg. No, I'm joking.
I
was actually joking. I was literally joking with that question.
To be honest, I reckon I've never watched a full halftime show for the footy. That's when you're going to go to load up and drinks. Like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I agree. I think the NFL, give it to them, keep it there.
Yeah, it's
I think
an American
the AFL
thing.
need to.
I don't give. I
AFL
honestly
doesn't
don't
have
care.
that same emphasis. They don't, like you said, the NFL, they stop it, all that stuff. I think the AFL, it's finals footy. Get the good singers up and about. Bring them in.
Daily, one day in September, sure. But even then, like, if you're at a bar watching a game, halftime is just have a break, go get your drinks and stuff.
They did a pre-game. It's weird that they do a pre-game, which is very odd. Did you know that?
I didn't even realise. I don't care about
Johnny
the
was
entertainment.
the too many
whatever.
drinks. What's so weird? I'm joking with you. Based on Brisbane going back to back, do you reckon? I know you said there's potential for third and fourth.
Yeah.
Do you reckon it's Dynasty 2.0 Brisbane side?
100%. Like this, what's scary about this team? They're the most similar to the old school Brisbane team, not in the style of play that they do, but they just have weapons from the back line through the midfield to the forward line. They're the most star-studded side. So 100%, I think they can.
They can do it. All right. That brings us to Dynasty teams.
Okay.
Now, Johnny, how are we going to rank dynasties of the past? We're not going to go into, I'm going to say, the old era, the old times, I guess teams that we probably have no idea. If you are 80 and want to come onto this show, feel free to. We would love to interview you to understand the football, but we do not understand it. We were not born.
I don't know who they are.
We know who they are, but we're going to go through them one by one, talk about the best of the best for dynasties in the AFL.
So we're doing the AFL era. So
are we going to do AFL and VFL?
I can name the VFL
right,
one.
Let's go through.
So Fitzroy won.
Even though no one cares. Sorry.
Fitzroy, this one was the weirdest. Yeah, and then I start with Fitzroy. Fitzroy won 4 of the first 10 VFL grand finals, which I did not know. Carlton was the first team to win a hat-trick, and they made 5 grand finals in a row. Collingwood won 4 grand finals in a row. Didn't know they actually made 6 in a row. One of the grand finals was 25-13. It's very interesting.
It's actually, wait, how long ago was that?
I was in the 1920s, so I think the 1927 to 1930.
Oh my God. So the women's AFL they actually have a bit of hope.
100%. There's been a couple of games where they've scored 80 this weekend.
Fuck, good on them.
Exactly.
What was that? It was like an emphasis. Shut the fuck up.
Melbourne won 5 from 6 in the 50s and fired their coach a year after they didn't win. The great Norm Smith, famous medal. I don't think Melbourne have really, apart from one really have not recovered since then. So imagine that. Imagine just dominating and you have one bad year.
Holy shit, that's a common theme for them. Think about what they did with Goodwin. They have the worst loss of all time. They just then go, you know what? Fuck it. Get rid of the
Goodwin won 1 and then went out in straight sets. This guy was dominating.
But that's what I'm saying. No, but if you I'm not going to get into that because it's a whole other video. But I do agree. I don't agree with the.
It's horrible.
Yeah, getting rid of that. They never recovered. They clearly didn't. I mean, they're not as bad as Essendon, but it's all right.
I mean, Richmond late 60s to 1980 won 5. Carlton 79. I mean, won a lot in the 70s. 79 to 82, 3 from 4. Hawthorn 83 to 91 made 7 grand finals.
So it's pretty
and won 4. So I mean they're probably the dynasties pre AFL.
It's pretty common. I feel like that's actually like, I know when we think about dynasties, a lot of good teams just do outstanding things. Like I think it's just a consistent thing. Like I didn't realize how many dynasties were in those years under the 90s. Like I didn't realize that they had such, I guess, not power in the AFL, but yeah.
Well, Collingwood before 57 won, so what there have 1, 2, so what? So they were on 14. They were on 13 by 1957.
Wait a second. When was Essendon's last grand final? Essendon's
last grand final was 2001. is what you made.
when we won.
2000.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. No, mate. The last, like, we can tell it took 21 years.
Now, a
of
separate
winning a
video,
final.
the greatest team that should have been a dynasty and didn't would probably be the 99 to 2001 Essendon side.
Yeah, but then we had a drug saga and we never forgot.
Yeah, but
you know what?
Hang on,
bring James Bird.
Hang on, drugs have nothing to do with those 3 years.
No, hold on. No, I know. But bring James Bird back, get them into the peptides, have a bit of fun with it. We need it. Actually, you know what, guys? I did say to start tanking, and you did it. You're finally onto something. You're actually onto something. And you know what? When you're losing, you're not in the media spotlight as much. Doesn't matter. Get the drugs in.
Well, when we do the trade talk, I saw a
Merritt's gone. Get him out. Get him out. Get rid of him.
I'd be taking full advantage of. He wants to go. Just Hawthorn need him. I'd be getting 8 picks. They're holding back too long. Don't give us a player. We don't want a player. Just give me picks. Just give me
reset. Do a Richmond.
Just give me everything.
Okay, that brings us to. So we're at the 90s. We were at the early 2000s.
So now we're in the AFL era.
Yep.
So okay.
Beautiful.
So now the era. So let's do the 21st century. That's where we can go a little bit deep in. So you've got.
Well, we're born. We're actually alive.
That's fair. Okay. So we've got the great Brisbane team. Win 3 grand finals in a row. They beat a very strong Essendon side. Win 2 against Collingwood. And then they make the 4th grand final, which was an awesome grand final against Port Adelaide, who they always had the wood over. And
I don't know why I'm holding it like that, but that's where the coach of the Port Adelaide did the necktie.
But that Brisbane team, that Brisbane team was just star-studded. Their forward line, Lynch, Bradshaw, Brown, McRae, Notting. Then you had this super... Carousella came on at the end of it.
Lynch.
So Voss, Acker, Black... Lappin, Power, then the back line.
That's not power. That is a powerful freaking team, isn't it?
You had Mel Michael, Lepridge, Chris Johnson, the Scott brothers. It was just Keating in the ruck. That side... That
sounds
side,
like you have a bit of a... crush.
That side, when I was watching footy, when I first started really watching football, like full time, watching all the games, not just the side I go for. And
who did you go for again?
Carlton.
That's why the show didn't continue.
That's why Brisbane were so important to me. But they were, because you're so young, they were like superheroes. It was a superhero, and that's where I think a lot of that is. From a on paper standpoint, they were bigger than what they were, type of thing. And I think that has to do with your age. And they were bloody good footballers.
I think. Well, how old were you? That was very impressionable years of yours. You've been like what, 8?
I was
7, 8 years. Yeah, that's when you look up and you see your idols and you go, oh wow, they're amazing. They're like the kings of kings. And I think when you do look at that squad, even I remember watching Ackermanis. I was 5 years old. And just watching how Jonathan Brown, that kick goals. I idolised Fev. Sorry, that's so off.
No, I loved
But Fev did go to Brizzy for a period there. But I really did idolise, those players because it was something that, you're a kid, you're just learning all about this new sport. And I think it's nostalgia.
And that's why I like to, those, you mentioned the VFL dynasty sides, because people were born in those eras. And to them... It doesn't matter what football they see now. That's the superheroes that they've got.
It's actually, that's so true. And it would be really interesting to hear someone who's like 60 years old about football.
And it happens in all sports. That's why every era, whether it's players, fans, all think that theirs is the best.
I'm jealous though, MJ. We all know that MJ, like Michael Jordan, for those basketball fans out there, I would have loved to have watched.
Of course.
But okay, so we've touched on Brisbane, formidable.
So Brisbane. So that then you had the Sydney West Coast rivalry, and then it went to this was the most excitable football, not from just the side, but just as the whole league. I thought there was the best balance of offense and defense, and that was the Geelong 2007 to 11 era. Very, very strong side. They'd played in 3 finals in the early 2000s. came to 2006. This was supposed to be their year. They won the NAB Cup. They were supposed to make it. Didn't make the 8. So there was a thing called Leading Teams where they did a full review. Do we get rid of Mark Thompson? He's been here for a while. The players actually sat down with Gary Ablett Jr. and said, you should be our next Chris Judd.
Oh,
and Chris Judd at the time was the best player in the league. Gary Ablett Jr. then went on a 9-year burst of pure dominance that we'd ever seen. But that whole Geelong side just went...
Do you reckon... Because when was Gary Ablett Jr., when did he come into the league?
2002.
Okay, no, that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say, did you reckon because you've got Gary Ablett Senior, arguably the greatest of all time. You could put that down. And then I think I've said Gary Ablett Jr. was my best, of all time.
Oh,
he came into his strides, in those premiership eras as well.
Well, that was the thing.
Did he carry and did he have that weight the team carry?
He didn't carry him because
I'm not saying he carried. He had Selwood, Bartel, Hawkins. You've got a list of.
He didn't carry him, but they were just like. I think they all looked at each other and said, "We all need to get better," and they sort of made a parallel. Okay, you got to become the next Juddy. You could be our Chris Judd. Chris Judd also had Ben Cousins and Kerr and a lot of supporting class too. But that Geelong side just went.
So wait,
bang.
we had a lot of cocaine. I'm sorry, it was the right time. That was bad. It was bad.
I don't even know where I was now.
We're talking about Kerr, West Coast had Kerr.
We're not talking about West Coast. So Geelong went nuts. So that was an absolute awesome side. So you had, Matty Scarlett, Harley, Wojcinski, Bartel, Selwood, Chapman, Johnson, Ablett, Mooney, Brad Ottens. Enright, absolute freak, Joel Corey. So that side was also awesome. The only thing for them... So they were come back to the Brisbane side. They were never on top. They never finished first, which I find fascinating. Port Adelaide were always on top.
Yep.
Which was such a big deal for them
when they
to
won.
win. Yeah, because they were the chokers and whatnot. But Geelong were first in 07, smashed Port. They were the best side in 08 and only lost one game. So the Essendon, sort of thing, were outcoached and beaten by the Hawks, who stole a flag. They redeemed themselves in 09, win a classic game against St Kilda. 2010, they were old and slow. Collingwood implemented the press to counter-attack their consistent handball game and also the use of interchanges. So players like Dane Swan, who were struggling, instead of playing him for a whole 25 minutes, he'd play 4 minutes, then go off, 4 minutes and go off. And that's revolutionised how footy was played.
Yeah.
So think this... 2010, they get smacked in the prelim by the Pies. They're old and slow. Gary Ablett leaves. Then Bomber Thompson leaves. So you've lost your coach and your best player. It's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And then Chris Scott comes in, gets a side to buy into a new game plan, kicking over the press. They beat the Pies, who were going for back-to-back.
It's a good...
Only team they lost to. So, and they were always top 2. So that Geelong side was... That was the most enjoyable part of football. It was that era.
Yeah. I think just from a nostalgia standpoint, that's probably one of my favourite times to watch. I absolutely... a lot of our family goes for Geelong. So it was really, really cool to watch. You don't... As an Essendon supporter, I haven't seen much success whatsoever.
I think you become a second team
it's almost. Yeah. And look, I'm one of those savages. I think if Essendon's not going to win, no one should win. And it's kind of like Sam Mitchell. I think he came out.
That was good.
Hawthorn
I liked that. I liked that. He was just like, I hated that.
Yeah, I hate it.
I loved that.
You can't, if you're going to, what are we doing? We're playing sport. We're playing competitive.
Just trying to win.
It's competition. You're going to win. And I think it sounds really bad, but I think that's, if you're going to take that approach, that's fine. But I do think you go out there, you give it effort, but you do want to win. At the end of the day, you don't want to see losers lose because of the wrong reasons. But if you lost just on fair and square, then that's fair. But I do think Geelong was, in a nostalgia standpoint, one of the coolest
Well, for
dynasties.
you, that's when you really started watching footy full time. So that
I was over,
Geelong
yeah.
side. So
I was 10, and then north of that, those 5 years were very, I loved footy. I lived and breathed it, and I think that was such a fun time to witness some of the greatest players and greatest team do it for that period. So, who was the next?
So then it moved into segues to the Hawks, who were, Geelong's rivals. And, that was they stole the 08 grand final, which they probably shouldn't have. Then they had a few years, sort of away. And then 2012, they made the granny, lose to the Swans, where they were heavy favourites. So, there was a big loss. They could never beat Geelong from that grand final either. Then they won 2013 against Fremantle, lose Buddy. Then you're like, okay, how does this work? And then they go back to they keep going. They win 3 in a row. From a game plan point of view, aside, they were pretty good contested, but it wasn't their whole thing.
It was precision.
They were almost happy to lose the clearance, get the ball off half back,
and then play.
And because you had Birchall was an absolute star, but what a side! Hodge, Mitchell, Ruffhead, Sirioli is probably one of the most talented footballers I've ever seen.
Can I just add to that? I've never seen. I remember there were a few comments back in that era. Defense became offense, and I think that was only on the back of Hawthorn. I remember just the way that they would clear the ball. They would actually just get the ball. They would then do the switch. They were the king of the switch. That was their thing. I think that was. I know other teams have used it, but I definitely do think they did that best in that time.
Well, so from game plan, so forever and a day, up until the Brisbane era, it was pretty much football was played pretty honestly. It was win the contested ball, kick it long to your forwards, and your crummers get it. And it was very pure how the game was played. Then Sydney brought in the flood.
Yep.
West Coast, even though they were very good, they had a lot of, good midfielders, very defensive. Geelong, then it was the handball game. It was just handball at all costs. Collingwood brought in the press. Hawthorn was, okay, how are we beating all this? We're just going to laser. We're just going to beat you by foot. We're just going to beat you by foot.
Yeah.
And they had Hodge, Ruffhead, Cyril, Isaac, Grant Birchall. It's pretty good left footers.
Yeah, some of the best. Best to do it. I think and Smith, yeah. Was Smith in there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isaac, so what? So they 08 and then they made 4 in a row and, won 3. So, that wasn't awesome.
They did the three-peat. They're the only ones, Brisbane did the three-peat and Hawthorn did the three-peat.
Interesting, and the teams that won the three-peat, in their year that they won the three-peat, they lost the first final.
It's impressive. It seems to be a bit of a trait, so it's no different to Brisbane. It's no different to Brisbane right now. And then you got the last two, was the last dynasty of the modern era.
And then you've got, which I think is one of the most impressive ones.
I'm going to leave you. I'm just going to go to the bathroom for the quickest wee of all time. Tell the viewers about Richmond. You've got this.
Well, Richmond, what was impressive about the Tigers is, so they 13, 14, 15, got a hard week after 30 years of the wilderness. Made finals. Then they... Oh, Josh, that's just attacked my ears. The thing just move it. You're going to have to edit that out. It's back. You're going to have to... Jesus Christ.
Move my mic.
Oh, that's what it is. Couple of edits on this one. 13, 14, 15, got Hardwick in, lose the first final in each one. 2016, then they think they finished bottom 4. They were looking at getting rid of Hardwick, redoing the whole thing. One of the best moves is they had sports psychologists come in. Trent Cotchin, who'd always wanted to be the best player, actually admitted, sort of relinquished that role of wanting to be the best. became an absolute leader, and I think he's very underrated in his leadership of that side. Dustin Martin became Dustin Martin. But Richmond I never thought in any of those years that they had the best list for the season. So for them, 2017 they win. That was awesome. 2018 they were the best side. Lost the prelim to Collingwood. Mason Cox just ran amok. Then Alex Rance goes down at the start of 2019, which means Grimes has to play a bit taller. Richmond implement as a strategy the forward hand pass, and they just love chaos. There was nothing. We went from Hawthorn, who had the beautiful skills, to almost the opposite. That was just absolute crash and bash with Koch and Prestia. It's just that Richmond side, and then to go back to back, and Geelong, for as good as was, never did. I thought that Richmond side was good. A lot of heart and well coached.
Very well coached. I think strategy. If you look at all the teams that have had those dynasties, you would have to say Richmond on a list standpoint is not as impressive.
No, they weren't.
As all the other three.
They were. I didn't think they were. I mean, they were late starters to 2017. 2018 was probably their best year.
Well, you said to me 2016 they finished bottom four.
Bottom four.
They were nowhere to be seen. And I think you said from 2013 to 2015 finals bound, and then they completely sucked ass. Come back 2017.
Well, there's clues there. Bomber Thompson. They were at Geelong. Were about to sack him. They go on. They're Richmond about to start card week. Go on. No, they're Richmond side. Lot of honest footballers on that one.
And you'd have to say one of the best finals players of all time.
Oh, if not
the best.
Three Norm Smiths, and he was best on, or at least top three in every other final.
If anyone out there thinks that there's a better finals player, you're on some serious stuff. I don't know what.
Put them in if you think there is.
That's just bullshit. That's just not even a question we should be asking. All right, based on that, Brisbane have gone back to back. Where do we rank this? Obviously, a dynasty, I guess we would have to quantify, and I don't think we can go past. You have to be winning at least 3 premierships
in a period.
Yeah, in a period. But I think you can't go 3 over 20 years. You have to be going like 3 over 10 or 5.
Yeah, but I mean, we're ranking these ones. They're all Geelong's the longest stint, won 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
Hawthorn won 4.
So 3 out of 5.
Hawthorn won 4 out of 8.
Yeah. And I mean, that is sort of a trend we are seeing in the AFL. Do you reckon, I guess, and bringing that onto a new topic, do you reckon that there can be another side, future thinking in the next 10 years or the next decade?
I don't think it's...
Can there be another... Do you reckon there'll be another dynasty?
Of course there can, because I think in all sports there's always a dynasty. You're just playing under different rules. So the AFL have implemented all this stuff because they thought the league was dominated in the 80s and 70s by the Carltons, Richmonds, Hawthorns, whatnot. The 21st century is probably more dominant by less sides.
It's back, by the way.
What's back?
We can do that in the AFL now, apparently. Everyone's doing that.
You get fined.
Yeah, but I mean, that's peanuts for them. They're earning more money nowadays. It's good.
It's fair.
Interest and inflations are working well. Where do we rank this new Brisbane side then, compared?
Well, I think they...
No. Do we reckon... No. What I'm saying is right now, as they are, you've said you reckon there'll be 3...
I reckon there is no reason that they can't win 3. Whether they win 4 in a row or 3 in a row, there is no reason this side can't be the best of them all.
Do you reckon for Brisbane, 2024 or 2025 was a harder year? Which one?
So I think they both have merits. 2024, they had more people on the park. But they were starting from a lower, they sort of had to just get their shit to go because they almost got to a point, hey, we got to win games.
And we got to play better at the G.
And, they had to, they didn't make the top 4 and, they were getting smacked, in 2 of the finals.
Yeah.
So that was hard. I think they were a better side this year, but their draw was hard. They had a lot more injuries and everyone was downing them. So it's
they're gonna have a tough draw next year.
I think last year was probably harder because I don't think everyone saw it. I think the majority of people would have Brisbane as the best side this year because they beat all the best sides.
Yeah. It's no different to, who was it? Western Bulldogs. They lose to 7 of the 9, 7 of the top 8 sides. So you look at that and you're like, if you're not going to win games against the best.
Dogs have been like that for 4 years. So,
okay, yeah, that's a different story. In terms of the dynasties that we've got currently, so we've got Brisbane on the early 2000s. We've got Geelong from 2007 to 2011. We've got Hawthorn 2013 to 2015 to three-peat. Richmond 2017 through to around the 2020 mark. Who had the most dominant style? That could mean who was, I guess, prominent. And I know you've talked about nostalgia from the Brisbane standpoint, but who was the most dominant? Who had the most swagger? Who was a team that if you could take an AFL super side, like an all-Australian side too, and go, I'm going to verse it against the absolute dynasty team, who would you be taking?
I always felt, and this isn't ranking him because I think it's a different question.
No, we're gonna. This is not ranking. We're gonna get to the end of that.
I think Brisbane, even though they never finished top 2, you never thought they were going to lose. So to your dominance question is, I just never thought they were going to lose. Geelong, even though they did, I never thought they were going to lose in that period. I always felt Hawthorn were beatable. And I never thought Richmond were the best side. So take your pick from out of the Brisbane and Geelong for me. I felt like they were more dominant, as in like every year I'm like, they're going to win it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the years that was happening, I think I'd have to say Geelong.
Okay.
Just from stardom, star power, and I think nostalgia as well is around that. I just remember it. And even that flows onto another point that I actually want to ask. In the 21st century, who's a team that you always come up against? Not just Carlton, but you can look across the AFL. It doesn't matter their draw. Who do you reckon's, like, we're talking dynasty, but who do you actually think is probably the most dominant team in the league across the 21st century?
Well, I think Geelong have been the most consistent.
Yep.
But Brisbane have won 5.
So Geelong can make the finals. That's notorious.
They've won 4. So, and they're constantly top 4. Like the amount of prelims and grannies they've made is crazy. But I don't think I think as a whole thing, Geelong. The answer is Geelong, but Brisbane have won 5 flags. Geelong never had that bad period. Like before Fagan got there, Brisbane were the bottom 2 for 3-4 years. Yeah. Now we're going to rank those dynasties. I want you to go through. I want you to go from subsequential order. Go the worst to the best. So last is actually the Cats. 07-11. As dominant as they were, they didn't go back to back. Yeah. In every sport, the champion has to go back to back, and then when you win 3, you're on a different playing field. So Richmond, which was super impressive, but they won 3 out of 4. Awesome. But it's got to be Brisbane and Hawthorn who won 3 in a row and made 4 grand finals in a row. Now, this is a hard one. When you look at it, people can just compare the Hawthorn that made the 4 grand finals and Brisbane if you're just doing them on paper. But that Hawthorn, a lot of those players won in 08. Yeah. Which they still won. So I kind of give them that one. But even if Hawthorn finished on top more than Brisbane do, so you almost, to do a Deb Bradbury, you almost have to go with the stats. And I hate saying this, and everyone will gives me the shits for it, which I understand because I think that Brisbane side is just better, better on paper. But if I'm thinking about it objectively, I'm putting Brisbane second, Hawthorn first. That's a big call, and I think you're not going to like my call. It's pretty controversial. So I'm putting Geelong 4th. Yeah. I think, don't get me wrong, I think they were very formidable. They had a lot of star power. They were a very good team, but like you said, they couldn't go back to back, but it kind of does counteract my first. 3rd, putting Brisbane. Now, I'm gonna say this, and the reason for it, I was too young to understand it,
But two, I think when I watched Hawthorn and understood football and to take a game and sort of take it to another level, that I guess, like we said, it was precision, it was defense to offense. It was something we'd never really encountered. They changed the style of the game. I think that is got to be said. They got put straight into second, and my first is Richmond. The reason for Richmond, their team was not impressive whatsoever. Like, oh no, I shouldn't say whatsoever. They had good players. But they didn't have the depth that all the other teams did. So I think it is far more impressive from a coach, a strategy, and just an overall team perspective. That culture that they had at that club, I think it's super. I know that they didn't go back to back.
They did go back to back, 19 and 20.
Sorry, 19 and 20. Yeah. But 18 they didn't win, did they?
No.
17 they did.
That was their best year.
I think, yeah. So I think that's probably the most impressive for me.
But how, okay, I understand it being the most impressive, but that's like saying Dirk Nowitzki's championship in the NBA because he beat Kobe, OKC, then LeBron Heat. That's the most impressive championship. It's not the best championship team though. It's the most impressive because of against the odds. And it's not against the odds because they won 3 out of 4, but against them, there's no way they are better than Brisbane and Hawthorn.
I'm not saying if you had taken these teams though,
that's what we're ranking.
No, but the AFL have changed. Yeah, but but I'm looking at what characteristics the AFL back in 2001 to 2003 was a very different ball game. Hawthorn was a precision foot. There was. They're second. I just think it was more. It's more impressive that a team that was more.
But all impressive is different to ranking. But something that it's impressive is like it was impressive how they were able to do it. That does not mean they were the better side.
I think that's why Richmond would have won. I reckon. Considering how close they were, I reckon Richmond would have won if you had to put Richmond up against Hawthorn.
Oh, they were going to slice the part.
We would never know.
Slice the part.
Well, they clearly didn't because they had the chance to beat them and they didn't.
Because all their players were gone. Slice the part.
All right. So I want to touch on. Have we touched on best finals player?
Yeah,
we did.
Dusty.
That's without doubt.
Easy.
If you have any other, you've got a problem. In terms of the coaches, of those dynasties, who would you be picking to take to verse like I've said, that all Australian side, that superstar side, that all-star side? Who would you say was probably the best coach out of this modern era?
So I think you take Mark Thompson. So Mark Thompson, Chris Scott is sort of an overlap there. Probably taking them out of that Geelong side because there's 2 and 1, so that's out. Hardwick was phenomenal and he's still going. Love what he's doing at Gold Coast. Look, Clarko is probably one of the most important coaches in footy because he's not only won 4, but of the last 10 years, Beveridge, McRae, Adam Simpson, fucking every other coach has come from him. Sam Mitchell did time under Simpson and also, under Clarko as well. So, I mean, from there, it's just what's the league, all the coaches have come from him. However, I'm going Lee Matthews. So, because he won a premiership at Collingwood 10 years early, which I think is huge. To win a grand final in 1990 and then win one 11 years later. And the people that he had to deal with, the presence, like Voss, Brown, the personalities, Ackermanis, he was able to rope these big personalities and real strong men, and he was their leader. And you even leading into the pre-weeks of the grand final, he was on the couch with Voss, Buckley, Lewis. He was smarter than them all still. You could see how he saw the game so different to they did, and a lot of them were proven right in the granny. I'm going Lee Matthews.
I like it. I'm not going to answer that. I don't have enough visibility to answer that question, but I like it.
Lee Matthews is the man.
He's the man. Now, I want to ask you a question, but it's actually more for the viewers. Did we have anything else we wanted to touch on?
No, that was good.
I think we're good. If you can, guys, I want you to drop in the comment. If you could have your own dynasty team, who would be the coach and who would be your best player, your captain for that team? I want you to drop them in the comments. John and I will put ours. I'm not going to say it now. I'm chuck them in the comments. And guys, what are we going to be talking about next?
We're going to review, I think we're going to review the grand final.
It's a big year in the AFL. Very exciting. Not, though, if you're an Essendon or a Carlton supporter, both sitting right here. Thank you so much for watching. We're going to see you guys in the next one.